Welcome to Dynasty Playbook, Dynasty FF's dedicated podcast. I'm your host, Drew. You can find me on Reddit at EAF Marine, on Twitter at Drew Dotson NFL. With me is my co-host, Tyler. You can find him on Reddit at Barles and on Twitter at his new handle at HBombIDP. You see, Tyler doesn't like to tell me these things, so he lets me send out tweets with his old handle and make me look dumb. So I don't know that we can be friends anymore, but I'm still going to do the podcast with you. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I figured I'd join the cool kids club and get a real cool Twitter handle. So, yeah, I guess I should have shared that with you. My apologies.
It's all good, man. I'm just pulling chain. So, I don't think we had anything exciting happen in the NFL world today besides just more OTA talk, and I really don't put much stock in anything they say at all. No big injuries as far as I'm aware of. So, I mean, unless you caught something I didn't.
No, just OTA crap. Taylor Gabriel's the new superstar, and
I do like some Taylor Gabriel.
I do like Taylor Gabriel, and there's this other guy that's getting a little bit of love this week. Oh, Allen Robinson is getting a lot of love right now, which is kind of annoying to me.
Boy.
Yeah, it's a little annoying because I mean his price isn't the greatest right now, but I'd like to see it at least stay the same. So that's not going to happen.
See, I'm all right with it going up because I'm already done with my drafts for the off season, so I don't have to worry about buying him again in another draft. So
hell, I've been buying him at full price plus anyway. I don't care. Yeah. All in, baby, all in.
Yeah. We were just talking about before the show, people accusing us of buying the hype, and it's like, I don't think you understand. We are the hype. I was buying Allen Robinson at 25th overall in March. I mean, I don't think it gets much worse than that.
Yeah, if he fails, and I don't think he will, but if he does, I got some rosters that are going to need some reconstruction because I have him everywhere, and if I don't have him, Drew does.
The last thing I'll be worried about is roster reconstruction. I'll be worried about life reconstruction because I don't know how I'm going to be able to piece together the shattered piece of my life. But I love me some Allen Robinson. I think that's a guy with wide receiver one upside, and all Bortles has to do is be serviceable, and I think Allen Robinson will do the rest. So, I mean, now that we've officially let OTA talk infiltrate the podcast, let's go ahead and get away from that. And I wanted to go ahead and start with it's not really a subreddit post discussion, but it's something we talked about on one of our Voxer groups with a bunch of the guys from the Nasty 26 leagues we do with Justin Eustace. And it's more how to react to garbage trade offers, because one of our buddies at JoJo Mags just had a guy like freak out on him for a trade offer he sent, which we actually thought was a fair trade offer. He wrote an article about it, and it got me thinking. I don't really understand the point in flipping out over a bad trade offer. It's one of those things to me that I'd rather use it to my advantage. One of my leagues, somebody sent me, Joseph Randle for, I think it was Randall Cobb, which that's a little uneven. Even if Jones came out tomorrow and said Joseph Randle is gonna be the starter, and we're gonna sign him to a 7-year contract, still not even close for me. But instead of just, getting all up in my feelings about it, send a counter for what I think Cobb's actually worth. Obviously gets immediately rejected, but he comes back. We go back and forth 5 or 6 times. And, we never ended up making a deal. But at the end of the day, we both got a better idea of what each other's evaluations are for players. And I got a better idea of how to negotiate with this owner in the future. So instead of just, getting your panties all in a wad and, typing out this angry response, try and think about how you can use it to your advantage. So I don't know how you feel about sending angry responses, but
yeah, I have never resorted to sending back an angry or condescending response to a bad trade offer. I have a couple leagues where there are 2 or 3 teams that just repeatedly bomb you with bad offers, just one after the other. And more often than not, they're just not even workable. It's not even worth countering. So, after the first 1 or 2, I'll write a little note. Hey, man, this isn't close for me. I'm not really looking to move player X for player Y, and I'm not interested in this guy, this, that, and the other. But at some point, if they just keep doing it, I just reject without comment. And sometimes that sends as much of a message as anything. But getting butthurt, just why? I mean, well, who are you to get butthurt or to be offended at another player's valuation or, another league mate's valuation of players? And you always hear the buy low, sell high. So can you blame a guy for trying to sell you Joseph Randle? I can't. If I owned him, I would. I mean, I'd at least throw some stuff out there and see what I could get. Want to get anything you can for him. So I don't blame a guy for trying to sell Joseph Randle or players of that ilk. But yeah, getting your panties in a twist just serves no purpose. You're just gonna potentially lose one trading partner in your league, and more often than not, you only have a handful of trading partners in each league anyway, because half the league deuces out during the off season. So yeah, just send them a simple response. Hey, not interested. We're not here. We might could make something else work, but don't send back a shitty response. That just don't be a butthole, right?
Exactly. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I don't blame the guy at all for trying to trade me Joseph Randle. If I had Randle, I would be shoving him down all 11 league members' throats until I could get a trade done. But just to me, it's like, if I get a guy like that, I'm just gonna be a little more reasonable with what I'm trying to get. But I don't blame the guy at all for trying to trade him. Yeah, he's got all the hype right now. He might as well have been announced the starter. Because, I mean, either means he's going to start like 2 games and then his legs are going to fall off. So I don't blame the guy at all. To me, the valuations were just screwy. But I absolutely agree. And then when you have the guys that consistently do it over and over and over again, that's what I love about MFL. It just sends you the trade proposals right to your phone. It gives you that ability to insta reject. Get that thing pulled up right on your mobile browser. Oh, he sent it to me 30 seconds ago. Oh, it's another doo-doo offer? Reject.
Yeah.
That to me is the way to send the message without being a dick. It's like, oh, wow, he really didn't think that was close at all. Maybe I should rethink how I'm sending him these offers. But getting all up in your feelings and sending him stuff, that to me is all that's doing is getting you all up in your feelings. I feel like they on the other line are like, oh, well, this guy's just really overly sensitive. Sucks to be him.
Yeah, and you probably don't even want to mess with him again. If a guy came back to me like that, I'd be like, all right, cool. I'll just not bother you anymore. So yeah. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, it's a freaking game. This is not life or death. I know I don't play in any what would be considered high stakes leagues, so it's not like there's life changing money on the line. Probably in a very, very small percentage of leagues is there real money on the line. So it's just a game. So,
See, I'm going to disagree with you there. I feel like you and I are in a couple of leagues that I would designate high stakes leagues because I need to be able to talk some really legit shit the next year going on. And if I lose that ability, and that's some high stakes right there.
Yeah, pride is every bit as important as cashing out for me anyway. I've said it before. I would literally play for peanut shells in every one of my leagues. If everybody else in the league could carry the same intensity and integrity, I'd do it, in a heartbeat, because I'm not making any money at this crap. I just love it. It's a disease.
Yeah. Yeah, when you find that league is full of members you enjoy playing against, the money totally becomes secondary. But I think we did a fairly good job of breaking that one down. That was fun. So let's move on to our next one, which we actually I thought about having this one on last week's show, but I wasn't sure if just how cognizant we were by the time we were ready to broadcast. So I figured let's save it when we're a little more conscious. And it's does it seem like owners are much more hesitant to stray from ADP and startups as opposed to rookie drafts? Because it seems to me like once you're in rookie draft, guys are like, they're much more willing to go get their guy. Like, I know you and I are huge on this. I say for probably the first month after the NFL draft, I just assumed Stephon Diggs is worth late second because that's where he went in every draft. But that's mostly because I took Stephon Diggs in the late second of every draft. But that's because Stephon Diggs is my guy. That's where I had him ranked. I'm going to take him because I wanted Stephon Diggs on my team. I have no problem reaching a rookie draft because I don't want to miss out on getting my guy. And I feel like that's in rookie drafts, that's not far from people's mentality. A lot of guys are willing to reach to go get their guy. And even, the talks of trading down, there are guys that are going to trade down 2-3 spots and then they're still just going to snag up their guy. Whereas owners in startup drafts, you see a much less willingness to stray from the ADP. And I wondered if that's something you'd noticed or if that's if you, I don't know, if you have a reason to justify that.
I mean, that's just kind of, it is what it is. In startup drafts, it's all about value. You don't want to reach too far. Me personally, I will pay attention to ADP. I know what the trends are, but the only time that I'm really saying I'm going to take player X over player Y, even though their ADP isn't right, as far as my decision, is if I don't think player Y will fall. I don't think he'll come back around. So, especially like when I'm picking at the turns, I'm just going to reach. I'm just going to get my guy, and ADP be damned. Now, if I can trade down, a few spots, still get my guy and pick up some value in later rounds, even better. But I do notice that to be a trend. But it's also, like the draft that I'm in right now with the FF Couch Coach crew, we've got 3 or 4 guys rolling one way and the rest of the league's rolling another way, and it's almost like there are 2 separate player pools. Because some of the teams are building, let's win right now. Let's take the Andre Johnsons and the Vincent Jacksons and guys like that. And those are guys that I'm just not going to have on my roster in a startup. I'm just not. So that's kind of cool. So I can kind of count on a few of those guys getting sprinkled in between my picks. But at the same time, I'm perfectly willing to just go get my guy. And in rookie drafts, you are so right about that. I will just go get my guy, and I don't even care at all. If I want Jalen Strong and I'm at 107 and there's nobody better on my board, I'm just going to freaking take him because he's not going to be there for me at 207. Get your guy. So ADP is an important tool. It's important to know what the trends are, but at the end of the day, just be you. Do your thing. Don't have any regrets at the end of the draft if you don't get your guys because you were trying to stay within the guidelines of what the value says you should do.
Yeah, and I mean, I had this conversation with Pat and a couple other guys in the Nasty 26 Voxer group, and it was one of those things that make you kind of step back and reevaluate your own process. Because it's like, how much do I really let ADP decide my own picks? Because like you get on MFL to make your pick, and 9 times out of 10 it's already sorted by ADP, and most of the time, you're not scrolling down too far unless it's like round 8 or round 10, and you got to scroll down past all the old guys that suck and you don't want. And it seems to me like it's one of those things where maybe making our rankings is something that needs to be more relied upon than just going blindly by this ADP. Because the more you draft by the ADP, the more the ADP becomes the ADP. And, and that sentence didn't make any sense. But if you never deviate from the ADP, then the ADP never changes. The only time the ADP ever changes is when a player situation or a team situation changes. So,
right, but that's another thing you can look at. Like I'm saying, if you're going further down the list, even though you might like that player better than somebody that's up higher on the list, that's where I'll say, okay, I think this guy's going to slide. I think he's going to make it back to me in 10, 12, 15, however many picks until your next pick. So I take that into account for sure. There are plenty of times where I will take a guy who I have ranked lower than another individual just because I think he'll slide. So you got to factor in, do you know your league mates? What are their tendencies? What have they done for the first 3 or 4 rounds if you don't know them? That's what I'm paying more attention to. If I'm looking at a guy that took Calvin Johnson at the back end of the first or in the early second, that's not a guy I'm going to be too worried about picking off my just throw a name out there. I'm not worried about him picking off Kevin White, or somebody like that, because his tendencies are showing me that he's going to value proven production. And the same way, it goes the other way around. If you're building a team that you're ready to go right now, you can be reasonably sure that you're going to, like a guy like Marshawn Lynch, if you got a bunch of guys that are UTHing it in front of you and taking the youngsters, you can be reasonably sure that Lynch will fall back to you. So, ADP trends are important. Picking up on the tendencies of your league mates are important. There's a lot of different ways to approach it.
Yep. And we could talk startup drafts all day. And we probably shouldn't, because then I'm going to get itchy and I'm going to want to play in a startup draft here pretty soon. And I don't know how many more leagues I can handle and still remember what leagues I'm in. But I guess with that, we'll move on and we'll go to our IDP spotlight. And this is your guy. This is just your choice for the week. So tell us what you think about Demario Davis, linebacker. What do you got?
Demario Davis is Mr. Solid, steady, everything you want in the most unsexy linebacker of all time. He's just, you look up at the end of the year and he's got 120 combined tackles and he's got a few sacks and a few fumbles forced, and he's on the field every single snap. He's perfect for a 3-4 inside linebacker. He's 26 years old, so he's young. And for a linebacker, I was talking to Drew about this, I don't pay as much attention to age at linebacker. And it's not so much that they have a long career span. It's just that I feel like over the course of 2, 3, 4 years, I can find a replacement rather easily. So 26 is still a pretty young linebacker. What kind of potential does he have? I think we probably already have seen roughly what his ceiling is. Anywhere from 110 to 140 combined tackles with a few big plays, sprinkled in there. So Davis, I have no idea what his ADP is. I'd imagine he's probably going in the LB 24 to 30 range, which is right where he should be. But he's exactly the kind of guy you want on your team. If you're if you're looking at a win now situation where you're making a push and Davis is your LB3, you're happy. If you're looking at a situation where you're in a rebuild or you're looking to punt years 1 and 2 and Davis is your LB3, cool. You're good with that too. He's just a great, great value play and a solid NFL linebacker and a solid fantasy linebacker.
Yeah. And at first we started talking about him and I didn't really have a whole lot to say about him. And I guess it's because nothing he does particularly stands out to me, but that's also a good and a bad thing, because nothing he does poorly sticks out to me in particular, but nothing he does well sticks out to me. He just does everything good enough. He's solid all around. And it's just like on the offensive side of your roster. You want to have those wide receiver twos. Not everybody's going to be Bobby Wagner or CJ Mosley. You can get these guys on the cheap, and they can shore up your IDP side of your roster fairly easily. So Mario Davis is not a guy I'm necessarily going out and shopping for, but if he's on my roster, I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, he's just a great asset, and he's also, is in a nice division. He gets to go to Buffalo once a year. We've talked about the Buffalo stat crew handing out solos. He's gonna get to play Pittsburgh once a year, and Pittsburgh's been a nice matchup for linebackers for a long time now. It's been one of the top IDP matchups for linebackers. He's in a really nice system, and there isn't anybody knocking on his door for his job. David Harris is 1,000,000 years old. I think the Jets signed Tywan Jones from Michigan State as undrafted free agent. And Tywan Jones is a nice linebacker, but he's just a thumper. So Davis is locked into a 3-down role, and he's behind a pretty freaking good defensive line with Sheldon Richardson, Muhammad Wilkerson, and the recently acquired Leonard Williams. So, he's going to be freed up a lot because those guys can tie up some blockers. So just a nice, unsexy, solid play. I don't know who I would comp him to on the offensive side of the ball, but like Drew said, he's just going to be your steady producer, almost like a Anquan Bolden type. You look up at the end of the year and Anquan Bolden's giving you 12 solid weeks, where he's just getting you points.
Yep. And honestly, I don't have a whole lot else to say about him. So I guess we'll go ahead and move into our submitted questions for the week. And our first one is we're actually pretty late with this one. This comes from @BillLatin, and he wants us to break down the Jets and the Pats running back situation. And the Jets running back situation right now makes me sad. Mostly because Ridley's going to start off the season on the PUP list. And I was all about Stephen Ridley. And as much as I liked Chris Ivory when he was a Saint, he's not going to do it. He's going to start like 6 games and probably get injured, and that ain't it. Which maybe he'll start those 6 games until Ridley can get off the PUP list, and then Ridley will come in and tear it up for another 7 games or however many games he's going to play for.
Yeah, until Ridley gets hurt. And then it's the Bilal Powell and Zach Stacy show. I don't know.
So then we can just gouge our eyes out.
Yeah, I don't know. In redraft or an MFL 10, clearly Ivory's the guy that you want to take first. I don't even know how high you want to take him. But Ivory's the guy to look at. I do think Ridley's the more talented back. And I'm not even sure it's really even all that close. But Ridley gets hurt too. Ivory gets hurt. Ridley gets hurt. Bilal Powell is good. How boring is Bilal Powell?
He's like a bad Sean Green.
Ugh. And then Zach Stacy, God knows what's going on with Zach Stacy. Who knows? There is no predictability there. In Dynasty, for me, Ridley's the guy to own. And, I've got Ivory on a couple rosters, and I'm pretty cool with having Ivory as an RB3 or RB4. I got no problem throwing him in my lineup week 1, but I'm certainly not excited about the long-term outlook of any of them, really.
Yeah, and I mean, the only reason I lean towards Ridley is we've seen him be, 1,000-yard, double-digit touchdown running back before, where Chris Ivory, even in his best season so far, has not been that. And that was him as a workhorse back in New Orleans. Every other running back got injured in, 2010? He had young, fresh legs behind a damn solid O-line and couldn't get shit done. So if it's just straight up who's going to be the better running back, I think it's clearly Ridley. And for all these guys that look at Zach Stacy and think, oh, well, look what he was with the Rams. Well, he was garbage with the Rams. And the people who say that he wasn't, I'm not sure what games you were watching or even what stats you were looking at. Because, this is a guy his tape matched his stats. He was a sub 4.0 yards per carry running back and he looked like he was not getting 4.0 yards a carry. He looked like garbage. So,
but he had the volume, and
exactly.
at running back, especially in today's fantasy football, where a lot of guys pound the zero RB theory. Zach Stacy was a savior, probably won a lot of championships in 2013.
Sure.
And then we go back to Ridley. Ridley in 2012 was a beast, an absolute beast. And was a really hot, trendy redraft pick and dynasty pick going into 2013. And I was so excited to get him away from Belichick, just so excited. And then he goes to the Jets, where, initially I thought, yeah, he's just going to ascend and rise to the top, because he's the most talented. And the injuries are troublesome, man. They're following him around, and pretty worrisome, honestly. And I've got Ridley on a lot of rosters, and I bought him cheap last year, and that's why I have him on a lot of rosters. So is there some personal bias there for me? Yeah, you're damn right there's some personal bias there for me, but I do think that Ridley's got plenty of talent. I just don't know how much gas he has left in the tank.
Yeah, to me, they may or may not be some personal bias there, because I might have liked him before the NFL as well. I might not have, but I'm pretty sure I did. But yeah, like you said, I mean, he was a monster, and I don't think that the Jets are a bad landing spot for him. I think as soon as he's healthy and he gets a chance to start, I don't think a Chan Gailey offense is a bad place to be. Fred Jackson was a more than capable fantasy running back, and I think Stephen Ridley is not going to be far off from putting up those numbers. So I think we've talked about the Jets running back situation quite enough, and now let's talk about an even more exciting running back situation in New England. And I don't know about you, but I am over the moon for LeGarrette Blount.
What did we trade it for? We have that league that we co-own Blount, and somebody, I don't know what we trade, like a fourth rounder. We're just like, ship him, get him out of here.
I don't know. I would have traded him for an empty roster spot, honestly.
Yeah, you just don't want anything to do with them. For me, I've had Gaffney stashed on a few rosters. I don't know. Could it be something? Yeah. Maybe. Probably not. James White had the buzz last year in the preseason. I've got him on a few rosters. Could it be something? Maybe not. Jonas Gray ran for 4 touchdowns in a game last year and then didn't take a snap the next week.
Well, it's because he didn't wake up for his alarm clock, and then
I wouldn't be surprised if the Pats' leading rusher in week 4 is the guy who bagged Belichick's groceries on Friday afternoon. He's like, you look like you can play running back. Come on in. So for me, it's just an avoid situation unless I'm deep in drafts and I can stack Gaffney and White, something like that. I'm not paying anywhere close to what Blount's price is. I don't even know what it is, but I want nothing to do with it. Jonas Gray is too much. Yeah, Jonas Gray isn't on my radar. It's just an avoid situation. Belichick hates us. He absolutely hates fantasy football players, particularly with running backs.
I don't know that he hates fantasy football players. I think it's more that he just hates happiness, and fantasy football kind of ties in with that. But for me, I'm all about buying Gaffney real late, but I'm not stacking him with White. I'm not wasting 2 roster spots on that. But I was also not interested in White at all off season last year. I was not interested in the hype. I thought White was garbage coming out. He was another one of those guys that was just a product of the system, and he only looked better because he could catch some passes. I was honestly more interested in seeing what Steven Houston could become, and clearly that was nothing. But then he went to Pittsburgh and then became nothing. So it's to me, I really don't care what happens there until they. And I don't care what they do. If they could have drafted Gurley, and I'd still be sketchy about what's going to happen there. So
yeah, if they drafted Gurley, I mean, hell, I don't even know if I could make myself draft Todd Gurley at what his price would be if he went to the Patriots. Because, I mean, they've given us enough proof of what's going to happen there at running back and to a lesser extent wide receiver in New England. And it's just an avoid, especially in head-to-head. In the best ball leagues, I guess, yeah, it can mitigate some of that risk, but it's still just so bad. It's just so bad. I don't know.
I mean, hell, when was the last time they had the same leading rusher from like 2 consecutive years?
Probably go back to like Corey Dillon off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I have to think. It's 10 years maybe.
Long enough that I don't want to screw with it.
Yeah, it's not interested. So essentially for me, it's not entirely a void situation unless you can just pick Gaffney up for free. So, and I think I'm done talking about that. The next question comes from Wolf Nipple Chips, and he'd love to hear about. I know that's a great name, isn't it?
It's so good. I laugh every time I hear it or see it.
I wonder the mind frame. It's like, man, apparently it's got underscores all throughout it. So I'm like, I wonder if Wolf Nipple Chips with no underscores was already taken, or
what's the situation there that led to that? They're like 4 Wolf Nipple Chips. There can't be.
Fantastic. But he wants to hear about rookie running backs that can and can't pass block. And I'm going to start this off with the only nice thing I'll ever say about Tevin Coleman is he is a hell of a pass blocker. He is probably, if not the best pass blocking running back in this rookie class, he's one of the best. And that'll help keep him on the field in Atlanta so that we can see more subpar runs from him. There's just I told you this. I only have one nice thing to say about Tevin Coleman, and I already hit my cap. Gurley and Gordon are they're all right pass blockers. They'll get the job done. They're nothing to write home about. But that's going to be the situation with most of the running backs in this class. There were very few guys that were on either end of that were on the extreme end of the spectrum on either end. And who are some of the other guys, Tyler? I know
Mike Davis. Mike Davis is really good at the blitz pickup. Tevin Coleman, for me, it was bar none. He was the best by far at picking up pass rushers, and that helps with his outlook, his short-term outlook. The bad ones, I actually wrote Josh Robinson's name down 4 times under the list of bad pass blockers.
He was so bad.
Oh, my God. It's just like, I'll just dive down. Oh, no, I missed you. And then the next play is like, I'll just dive at your ankles. And nope, never mind. You stepped on my back. He was bad. I thought Duke Johnson was really bad, too, which is kind of weird because Duke is considered to be a third-down running back. So, yeah, he's going to run some pass routes, but he's going to be asked to stay in, too. You never know what the QB is going to do at the line, changing protection, whatever. I thought Duke just got manhandled and wasn't really willing to do the job. So
I cannot remember off the top of my head. How was David Johnson in pass block or in any sort of blocking?
Off the top of my head, I have no idea because I just get so caught up watching him run routes. Yeah, that's all I want to do with David Johnson is just watch him run routes. So sexy.
And that gives me that would lead me to believe that more than likely if they really need him on passing downs, they're just gonna have him split out wide anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's a converted wide receiver, chances are he's probably not the best blocker. But
yeah, that's one of those things that kind of gets lost in the wash. When you're doing the individual breakdowns of the players, we're watching it and we're making note of it. But then to come back a couple months later and say who did it, it's like,
shit. I don't remember.
You only remember the ones that were either really good or really bad. And most of the guys fall under the category of, they're okay.
Yeah, I don't remember who was a 6 out of a 10 compared to like a 7 out of a 10. But I mean, it's very few of the guys that are going to be either so good at it that it's going to require they stay on the field, or so bad at it they're going to be like, you got to get the hell off the field. Trey Mason. God, he was so bad at pass blocking in the preseason last year. I remember because I was watching every snap of Trey Mason in the preseason, and I remember he would have blitzes coming in, and it almost looked like he would just cower and just let him run around him. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not how you're supposed to do that, but I don't know. I'm not a running back.
Strategery.
Well, and he did have a second part of his question. He said, also, the idea that drafting a running back as a successor is essentially flawed because when the time comes for the backup to emerge, the coaching and positional depth chart is likely to have changed. I guess that's not a question, but I guess he wants to us to talk about that, or he wants us to tell us that we were wrong because that's probably something we said in the past. But I don't know. It depends for me. For guys that are closer to retirement, I think drafting a successor is not a poor idea. Or for drafting guys that are kind of shitty and the guy they draft is better, it's not a bad idea. Like David Johnson, because Andre Ellington's not very good. And I say that just so I can draw the hate and ire of the few people that are listening that always message me after I say bad things about Andre Ellington. Who are some other those guys that, as a successor, would be one of those guys you target?
What's that feller up in Seattle? What's his name?
No, we can't talk about him. I can't.
We do Ellington hate and then Christine Michael Love on the same show.
I can't. We're not going to do Christine Michael Love because I can't talk good about him right now because I don't.
Well, I mean,
there's nothing good to talk about.
Change like bam, like that in the NFL. Kadeem Carey last year. Boom, Kadeem Carey. When Matt Forte leaves, Kadeem Carey's going to take over. All right, what's happened? New coach is in. Jeremy Langford's in. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen? Bryce Brown. It's going to be Shady McCoy's successor in Philly, and now he's in Buffalo, and he's 83rd on the depth chart. Who knows?
New York. Look at Andre Williams. Oh, look, they brought Shane Vereen in. So now Shane Vereen's number one.
Yeah, it just changes so fast. So talent. There are a lot of guys that get bumped up the board, especially in rookie drafts due to situation. Buck Allen, David Cobb, Matt Jones.
Miami.
Miami, yeah.
Miami, that's right draft. I'd take Ajayi easily.
Because he's good.
Exactly.
Right? He's good. David Cobb is not good. Buck Allen is not good. Cap in Carolina. Now, Cap's one in Carolina that I can kind of get behind. I'm not a big fan of Cameron Artis-Payne, but Jay Stu will get hurt. Period. It's going to happen. It's happened every year since the beginning of time. So Cap's a guy that I can get behind if he's cheap. You know, I'm not going to go paying a second-round rookie price for him or even like a 10th round startup price for him, but that's a situation where I can get behind. But it's just so fluid, and Bill hit on this pretty good because you don't know what's going to happen next year. There's no way to predict it.
That wasn't Bill. That was Wolf Nipple Chips.
Oh, my bad, Bill and Wolf Nipple. My apologies.
I don't know if he goes by Wolf Nipple or Mr. Chips. We'll have to ask. But, yeah, I mean, I got distracted by using the proper honorifics, and now I lost the point I was going to make. Damn it. Well, oh no, Cameron Artis-Payne. I do like Cameron Artis-Payne. I like his talent a lot in Auburn, and the only reason that he was not higher up on my board is he's already 24 years old. By the time he's even sniffing a second contract, he's going to be Marshawn Lynch's age right now. That's too old. But for the short term, yeah, easily. I mean, he's a guy I'd be cool with taking, especially if you've got Jonathan Stewart and you're in a win now situation or something like anything like that. But I don't think I really have anything else on that. You got anything?
No, I did the whole Jonathan Stewart thing again. I apologize for that.
No, you're good. That was fun.
Cap's going to get some run this year. He's going to get some run because there is nobody else there. Who else is there? I mean,
Mike Tolbert, Captain Bowling Ball.
Mike, what is Mike Tolbert? He's got to be 45 years old.
It don't matter. He'll still average 3 yards a carry, and he'll get that 3 yards every single time.
Watch Mike Tolbert be like 26 years old.
Nah.
It just seems like he has been around forever.
Because he was with San Diego for like 20 years, wasn't he?
I mean, the dude has been around a minute.
He mentored LT as a rookie. But I do like Mike Tolbert, though, not as a fantasy option, but just as like as a player. He's one of those. He's like that the Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. Like, he's not going to do anything spectacular, but he's going to get you what you need every single time.
Yeah, see, you're too young to remember Leroy Horde, aren't you? You ever heard of Leroy Horde? Cleveland.
I know a lot of Leroy.
He was a Cleveland running back in the 80s, I suppose. But he had this saying.
I don't remember the 80s.
Leroy Horde said, "If you need 3 yards, I'll get you 3 yards. If you need 5 yards, I'll get you 3 yards."
I know the quote. I love that quote. I do know a lot of Leroys. I don't know that Leroy.
Well, see, we're from the South. We're awash in Leroys.
That is pretty accurate. Speaking of the South, how about all them Confederate flags flying around, huh? Yeah. And people always want to argue it's not about racism, but they actually get flown in Europe because you can't fly the Nazi flag over there. You can't fly the swastika, so they actually fly the Confederate flag in lieu of the swastika. So, for all you Confederate flag lovers, I mean,
just stop. Just
keep that in mind.
There's I don't even know in the South. I don't even know how much racism. I mean, of course, there's some racism involved in it, but it's a lot more ignorance than anything.
So much ignorance.
Just dumb, and
so much that's inherited from their dumb parents.
Bigotry and intolerance begets bigotry and intolerance, and eventually, hopefully, we can wash enough of that out.
Well, I mean, I feel like Mississippi's doing really well with it because we keep feeding meth to the really dumb ones, and I mean that's we can't technically start killing off the dumb ones, but we're trying our best to.
Just keep them awake for a month, and eventually they'll just wither away to nothingness.
Oh man, it's pretty bad. I can't really be talking crap about meth when my teeth look like they do.
Yeah, but that's Sour Patch Kid related, and I have them too.
Love me some Sour Patch Kids. Oh, I mean, I think we talked about Sour Patch Kids and candy more than we did about Dynasty before we got on the show.
Yeah, that's how you know we're #adults.
#grownups. All right, let's. I guess we'll do more Dynasty questions or something. But our next one comes from our good old buddy at 14 Team Mocker, who I'm gonna say it again for those of you guys who are now listening who weren't with us before. You guys need to follow him. He cracks me up all the time. He's hilarious especially because he won't talk to us on Voxer, so we can only talk to him on Twitter. But he wants to know if the team drafts a clone, does it scare you that they think lowly of the guy there, or is it a buying opportunity? And the example he uses is Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess. And for me, it is purely a situational. It's you got to look at it situation by situation, because Kelvin Benjamin and Funchess is an entirely different. I look at it entirely different than T.Y. Hilton and Philip Dorsett. To me, they draft Dorsett with the potential that they don't re-sign T.Y. Hilton because the contract's going to be too expensive. Because clearly it has nothing to do with how they feel about Dante Moncrief. I refuse to believe that. What you call it, blind optimism. I don't care what you call it. They're just they don't play the same position, so I'm not going to connect it, and I'm not getting into another Moncrief rant like I did on the on the chat the other day. But for Kelvin Benjamin and Funchess, I keep hearing that they're these same identical players, that they're these clones, but aside from them being big, they don't have a ton in common. Devin Funchess is 3 years older, 4 years older. He's got better hands. Kelvin Benjamin's dad. I don't know, Tyler. I'll let you talk because you actually like Devin Funchess, and I'm trying not to say too many good things because it's gonna make me sick.
That situation just doesn't really. I just don't even look at it like that. Is it that different than what we're doing in a startup draft where we're just going BPA, right? Yeah. So was Carolina? They may well have just been taking BPA on their board, and it just so happened to be another big wide receiver. Maybe Carolina is team big wide receiver. And who the hell else did they have there? What's going on at Philly Brown?
Greg Olson.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously, but I mean, at wideout, what did they have? They got KB and a bunch of also rans. Hell, they were running Ted Ginn out there, weren't they? It's just, it just doesn't even faze me at all. And like the Ty Dorsett thing, that doesn't bother me at all. Dorsett's not a guy that I'm expecting any production from in 15. If Ty resigns or doesn't resign, I still think he's going to carve out a role. But once again, was Indy not taking what they thought was the best player available regardless of team construction? We don't know that. That may very well have been what they were doing. So obviously it makes you a little bit concerned if a guy's going to have extra competition for targets. But, for me, I'm just going BPA. That's what I'm doing every time. And I'm not sure that the NFL isn't doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at like last year, sometimes you have to factor in age into it as well. San Francisco took Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde is a very similar running back to Frank Gore, at least, in what they do well. And to me, it was, they were drafting his successor. They were drafting the guy who, if Frank Gore left at the end of his contract or if Frank Gore decided to retire, they would have somebody to fill those shoes. So you have to look at each one separately. I would have absolutely, like I didn't last year, I had no problem drafting Carlos Hyde because to me the writing was on the wall that eventually Hyde was going to start because Frank Gore can't play forever. So,
yeah, put a bow on it. Yeah, put a bow on it.
All right. And our next one comes from at Something About Football. What do you do with your dynasty leagues during the off season to encourage activity? What are some suggestions for activities when there's nothing else to do? And a lot of these suggestions are coming from stuff I've started doing this off season because before that, nothing ever really worked. I've really started leaning away from using the MFL chat just because it doesn't work as well. Voxer chats, I love. Those have been a hugely useful for keeping up activity. Twitter, get your league guys on Twitter, follow each other. You can set up lists with just your Twitter guys on there, just your league guys on a certain list, and just keeping communication through that. To me, communication is the best way to encourage activity, more than doing trades or doing a second special waiver period or anything like that. It's encourage communication. There are numerous people in my leagues that have my phone number and text me, and I don't care. If that's how you guys want to communicate, I don't care. It's just, to me, the biggest effect on activity is when there's that lull in chat and nobody talks for a month and a half. And nobody wants to start talking because nobody said anything in a month and a half, so they don't expect anybody to reply. So it just kind of compounds on itself.
Yeah, there's just not a lot to do or be done. I'm in a ton of leagues, and I have 4 or 5 that are my leagues. They're my leagues with my guys, and we're talking every single day. And then I have the other leagues where I don't know them, they don't know me, I'm going to get my picks in. I'm going to respond to trades. I'm going to offer trades. I'm going to set my lineup. I'm going to try to win the frickin' league. And it's just pretty cut and dry as far as that goes. Now, the leagues that I'm in with my guys, like Dynasty is Hell, the Nasty Twitter League, the Reddit League, which is crazy active. Drew and I are in a few more. We're talking to the guys all the time. We may not be doing anything that necessarily revolves around the league, but we're staying in touch with one another, because we're friends. So as far as what to do in the offseason to encourage activity, I'm not afraid there's a whole lot you can do. I mean, you could put something in the bylaws that say, hey, you have to check in every 2 weeks or something like that. You have to respond to trades, within the offer period, which, Scott, if you're listening to me, either accept or reject my trade, you butthole. But
he's breaking the rules. He's hashtag being a butthole.
He's the worst. I really need him to just let's get this trade done. But there's just not a whole lot to be done. But and I suspect it's like that for everyone. Everybody probably has their leagues, their pet leagues, the ones that they enjoy more than the others because of the individuals involved. And I'm the same way. We've got our leagues where we're always doing something, but just not much to be done. There just really isn't. I mean, the time's coming. We're running summer waivers. I like summer waivers, but I don't like a waiver period every week. I don't like a bunch of first come, first serve crap out there all summer long. But yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with a weekly blind bidding, but I mean, I'm not a fan of it. But I mean, I'm not hugely opposed to it either. But no, first come, first serve. The earliest I want to see first come, first serve is the preseason, and even then, that to me is probably a little too early. Maybe the days leading up to the season, in case they missed out on that last waiver period, and oh crap, I still don't have a kicker. One of those, or oh crap, I forgot about bye weeks in week 4. I'm just going to go ahead and get my guy now, instead of fighting through waivers for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, first come, first serve is during the offseason. I have one league that it just opens up, man. And it's not the worst thing in the world, but I mean, it's first come, first serve right now. I can go add drop to my heart's delight right now. And they opened up last week or 2 weeks ago at like 5 o'clock, bam, sharp 5 o'clock. And I'm there waiting. And Josh Hill was my target. It's a 2 tight end league. And I just happened to be about 5 seconds late and miss out on Josh Hill for no other reason other than I couldn't click the mouse fast enough. So that kind of irritates me a little bit. A lot bit. It irritates me a lot bit.
I mean, he dropped somebody for Josh Hill, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. Jarrell Casey. So I was just like, boom, I'll just get me some Jarrell Casey, which I'm not real sure how that happened. But, I mean, I don't know that I wouldn't rather have Casey than Josh Hill. So I'm not. Thank you for reminding me. I'm not near as salty as I thought I was.
Yeah, I mean, at least it sucks, but I mean, rainbow.
Yeah, just not a full rainbow, but
it's like 3/4 rainbow.
Three quarters of a Benjamin Watson rainbow.
There you go.
Hear that crap coming out of Saints OTAs this week? I know you heard that.
I don't even listen to Saints OTA talk. I don't.
One of the beat writers talking about Josh Hill may not be locked in, and they're starting to talk about.
Well, they always talk about Benjamin Watson. They talked about Benjamin Watson when Jimmy Graham was there.
Fair.
Until it's the preseason, I really don't care. I really don't. I mean, we started our first offensive line depth chart starting the off season was shenanigans. So, I mean, to me, they're screwing around, doing just whatever the hell they want right now. Saints just, I've long since given up trying to predict what it is they're trying to do. I'm trying to remember what it was that was just so crazy about it, but yeah, I mean, it was. I feel like we had Pete in at guard, which to me was already crazy enough, and then I don't remember. I got nothing. So let's move on. And our last question comes from Mike Beckley. And he says, if you're going to start a new league, what's the scoring system, starting requirements, roster size, how many teams? What's our perfect setup? First of all, it's going to be IDP league. I mean, because I just like IDP. It's fun. And I'm sure I don't even have to ask Tyler. I mean, he's got IDP in his name now. Roster size, feel free to disagree with me here. I'm probably going 60, 65. I'd probably skip the taxi squad because that's just the more I've commissioned, the more a taxi squad is just a pain in my ass. And I know you agree with me there. Starting requirements, I'm probably going 11 on both sides. I'll probably go super flex. So let's call it 12 and 11. Scoring system, regular PPR, 1.25 tight end. PPR scoring. Tyler, what's our PPR scoring? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, yeah, as far as I like one PPR for everything except tight end, and I'm starting to come around to. I do prefer tight end premium, but I'm almost thinking we should move tight end premium up closer to 2, like 1.5, 1 3/4, 2 points. Yeah. Especially when you're starting so many guys. Let those. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I meant what's our IDP scoring?
Oh, IDP scoring. IDP scoring standard is going to be 1.5 solo, 4 to 6 point sacks, something like that. I'm getting to where I prefer 2 point solos because I like those IDPs to have more punch. So my preferred IDP scoring is going to be 2 point solo, 1 point assist, 4 point sack, 2 point tackle for loss. That makes that sack worth, after it stacks all out, about 7 points. Yeah. So that's what I like. And I like the deep rosters and deep starting lineups. I hate these leagues where I'm only starting like 8 guys because it's just freaking boring.
Yeah.
It's just boring. I mean, you should be in a spot. I like being in a spot every week where I'm like, do I start Stedman Bailey or Andre Holmes? That's when you know you're digging. You know what I mean? That's when you know you're getting in there and really doing the work, and that's where the separation comes. So for me, the deeper the better. Deep. IDP 55 to 65 man rosters. And non-IDP 30-man rosters. I like it deep. Yeah. In the taxi squad, it's just a pain in the ass anymore. I understand in a contract league. I don't play in contract leagues. We've gone over that. But the taxi squad, I want it to go away. And another thing, 6 point passing touchdowns. God, 4 point passing touchdowns are for the Nazis, man. 4 point passing touchdowns are the worst. The worst. Hate it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and make Colin Kaepernick a locked in QB1 again.
Yeah, I just won't even play. In the Nasty 26s, Justin has them set at 5 point passing touchdowns, which is fine. You know, I can get behind it, but any league that I'm setting up is going to have 6 point passing touchdowns.
Yeah. 5's more reasonable.
Yeah, but 6 is more fun.
Yeah, I like points, and the only thing I'm gonna, the only thing I'm really gonna disagree with you on terms of scoring is I'd probably go 1.5 IDP tackle, and then I'd do it 2.0 for defensive line and just make it defensive line premium. But
I would do 2 point solos for everything except D line. D line gets 3 point solos. You know how that's what it is in Revolution. But that's how,
yeah, you're right.
It's DL premium because you know how hard it is to get defensive linemen to score.
I knew it was DL premium. I just didn't realize that it was how premium it was.
Yeah, and we're working on a league right now that is going to be – it's going to be something else. And what we're trying to achieve is balanced scoring across the board. And we're pulling out all the stops trying to make this thing work. And it will work. It's going to happen. And it's going to be –
what's really going to end up happening is strokes and hair loss.
God, every time you got to go back in there and adjust the scoring, and then you got to wait for the scoring to take effect. And
every time.
But once you get it, you're done. Once you get it, you're done.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I think that's going to be our last question for the week. This was a fun one. We got to do lots of ranting, and we got to talk about lots of interesting topics. Interesting topics. We talked a lot about nasty 26 leagues today. I gave Justin a shout out a couple weeks ago, but just one more time. This guy, he's at Just in Time. Give him a shout out on Twitter if you're interested in doing some best ball startup leagues. They're like $26. You don't have to set up your lineups every week. No waivers. Still, you got normal trades, and then they're a blast. I'm probably in like 6 or 7 of them. They're super easy to put together, and if you want just a quick way to get some practice, just get some practice doing dynasty startups. They're a lot of fun, and you get to draft with a bunch of people you didn't really know before, and it's a great way to stay in shape.
Yeah, you get to scratch that itch, man. Feed the beast.
That's right.
And then we're gonna pester him next year till we get the nasty 26 Devi. You know that he ended up not doing it this year because God knows how much work Justin has on his plate with all these leagues he's running. But God. I think a best ball Devi league, man, that gets me pretty giddy.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. I'm ready to take that step because Devi's about the only aspect of Dynasty that my feet are just not just all the way in on. Other than that, 2 QB mocks. Nobody's contacted me besides like 2 more people on that, so I'm gonna start reaching out to more people. If you guys are interested, shoot me a PM. Just message me on Twitter, whatever. Because I need to start more of them. Like right now. But yeah, I think that's all I got. What about you?
We got the IDP show coming. We're gonna record Friday night with our boy Eric Breeze from DLF. I'm really pumped for that.
I'm stoked.
Really pumped. And I know our content has gotten. We touch on IDP a lot more than what some of our listeners would prefer we do. But I think it kind of sets us apart because we're one of the few podcasts that's hitting on IDP every week. And we're going to drop at least an hour on IDP next week. So I'm stoked. And you get to hear that sweet Chicago accent of Mr. Breeze.
I lost it there. All right. But yeah, if it goes well, then there's no reason to expect we might not do a couple of them a month. So if you guys like IDP content, listen in, and better yet, send us your questions or topic suggestions because we love. As much as we like thinking up our own content, you guys are way better at thinking up stuff we didn't even consider. So if you guys got any ideas, hit us up. Like we said, we were recording Friday, so you got all week to send it to us. I think that's it. If you got any last parting shots for us this week, bud?
Nope, I don't. I'm gonna go take a nap.
All right, it's 1:45. Grandpa's gonna go take a nap. All right, that's it. Thanks for joining us this week. It's been the Dynasty Playbook, Dynasty Fantasy Football Subreddit's dedicated podcast. I've been your host, Drew. You can find me on Reddit at EAF Marine and on Twitter at DrewDotson NFL. With me has been my excellent co-host, Tyler. You can find him on Reddit at Barles and on Twitter at HBombIDP. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.